What is up, Mizzou fans? Welcome back to another post-game show on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, covering your Missouri Tigers. I'm going solo tonight, doing a little bit of a post-mortem on Mizzou getting blown out by the Crimson Tide at Alabama on the road. Brady Cook goes down due to injury again, only this time it's a different injury from the ankle injury that he came into the game questionable with. Drew Pine comes in, throws 3 interceptions, looks horrible. Mizzou is now at 2 losses on the year, and in their 2 losses that they've had, they've looked completely uncompetitive. The only 2 games on Mizzou's schedule that have truly mattered to this point, Texas A&M and Alabama, Mizzou has gotten run off the field. So you can essentially kiss the college football playoff goodbye. Now, I'm going to get one thing out of the way when talking about this game in this video, and that's going to be the defense. I have nothing bad to say about the defense in this game. They gave Mizzou a fighting chance from the get-go, and even though Mizzou's offense continuously kept going 3 and out, wasn't really moving the ball all that well, the defense was there to give them a shot. It, of course, just got to a point where they were on the field too much, and they eventually started to break, which is what happens when your team's quarterback turns it over several times and you put that defense right back out on the field. They're going to be gassed. But if you watch the game, I mean, you look at the box score, 34-0, you would think, oh, well, the defense probably didn't play that well. If you're giving up 34 points, you get blown out. Well, no, that wasn't really the case. The defense did their job today. I have nothing bad to say about them. Alabama's a good team. They're very talented. And when your defense looks like that against Alabama, you're going to give yourself a chance to win. And that's what's so infuriating about this loss, is that Alabama is so damn beatable this year. They are extremely beatable. They aren't that impressive. Yeah, they have a lot of talent, like I just said, but you could have won this game on the right day. But the offense just isn't worth a damn, and that sucks. And, you know, I go back to Georgia last year, LSU last year. Those were opportunities to win a game that really could have led to something special. You could have had a chance to go to the college football playoff. And the college football playoffs were still on the table coming into this game, even though that Texas A&M loss was really ugly. I mean, the playoffs were certainly still on the table had you won this game. And it's just infuriating because Alabama was extremely beatable this year. But the offense was put in a spot where, hey, we're asking you to make something happen, to give this team a chance. And it just didn't happen. Now, last year, Georgia and LSU, you could argue that the defense, wasn't as great in those games. But what I do remember is that Brady Cook and the offense had the ball with a chance to take the lead in the final minutes of both of those games. Of course, Mizzou never led in this game. But my point is that the offense just has to come through at some point. The defense gave you a chance. There's nothing bad for me to say about this defense. Johnny Walker was incredible in this game. You could pick out a few individual things, just like every game. Maybe the linebackers still weren't great. Chuck Hicks maybe got picked on a little bit, whatever. But the secondary was pretty good for the most part. Now, they were lucky not to give up that big busted coverage touchdown, in which they seem to always give up every single week, even though they're great. Besides that, Jalen Milroe overthrew a wide open Alabama receiver on surely what would have been a touchdown for the Crimson Tide. But nonetheless, defense did their job. I'm getting a little bit off track there. Defense did their job. It's the offense that's the problem. Still, even this far into the season. And yes, Brady Cook came into this game hobbled, and we all knew that. So we knew that this offense already wasn't operating at 100%. You also didn't have Nate Noel, your starting running back, in this game either. That hurts too. But once again, this really all comes down to the quarterback position, and it's a quarterback conversation. I'm going to keep hammering on this because the biggest reason to me why Mizzou is not winning games this year and why the offense looks incapable is because there's been a huge step back in quarterback play. Okay? And I'm not just talking about Drew Pine. I'm talking about Brady Cook. Brady Cook, what a lot of people are forgetting, and like last week when Brady Cook came back after sustaining that ankle injury in the first half. He came back in the second half, came back to beat Auburn. Whoop-de-doo, right? Everyone was crowning him, and they're saying, oh, I'll never say a bad word about Brady Cook again. And I'm not questioning Brady Cook's toughness at all. I'm not. I mean, there's never been a doubt about his toughness, his willingness to get it done for Mizzou. He loves Mizzou, and I think that's great, and that's rare in college football nowadays, having a player as loyal to your university as you have with Brady Cook. as Mizzou starting quarterback. But the unfortunate reality is that one half of football in which Brady Cook came back and willed Mizzou to a victory against a bad Auburn team, I should say, it doesn't negate the fact that Brady Cook has been bad all year. And he was bad in this game. And people are going to say, oh, but Josh, the ankle injury. What about this offense looked any different? What about this offense looked any different? Someone tell me. What about it looked any different than Brady Cook even when he was healthy? This is the exact same offense we've seen all season long, struggling to get across half field, tendency to go 3 and out. I mean, Brady Cook going on the run, inaccurate on the run, just nothing. And to me, it starts with the quarterback. And sure, you can point to the receivers, you can point to the offensive line, say they've been a disappointment this year. They're playing down to competition. And I can agree with that. However, here's the thing, and this is what I always come back to, is look at Vanderbilt and quarterback Diego Pavia. Do you think Vanderbilt has elite receivers like Mizzou does? Absolutely not. Do you think Vanderbilt's offensive line is overwhelming teams up front in the SEC? Absolutely not. So what is the excuse for Brady Cook and Mizzou? Because I just see a quarterback on Vanderbilt that, despite the shortcomings of the talent around him, he's able to make plays. I'm not seeing Brady Cook make plays. Brady Cook doesn't pass the eye test. So blame the offensive line all you want, blame the wide receivers all you want, and they do take a little bit of the blame. But quarterback is that one position that everyone looks to mask the blemishes of the team. And there have been times this year, even today, there was a play where Luther Burden, the broadcast showed it, he was waving down Brady Cook, yelling at him, hey, I'm wide open. Would have been a first down, a huge one at that. And Brady Cook just misses him. Just doesn't even see him. Field vision has been a problem this year for Brady Cook. I'm not saying the offensive line and the wide receivers have been perfect. But Brady Cook is the starting quarterback. And you expect him to be able to make at least a few plays. And he hasn't been that guy this year. And I've always said he'll never be the reason that you win games. You can win with Brady Cook at quarterback, but he's rarely going to be the reason that you win the game. But we're not asking him to be the reason that you win games this year. We're simply asking him, get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. Make the right decisions. See the field a little bit better. Utilize the middle of the field. Just those little things. And he's not even doing that this year. It's just been a massive regression at the quarterback position for the Tigers. And, I mean, I can go over the stats, and it baffles me how many Brady Cook truthers are out there. And some of us are being accused, like, I've been accused constantly on social media of being a Drew Pine lover or one of those idiots that wanted to see Drew Pine. And like, I was never excited about the idea of Drew Pine. I never said Drew Pine was better than Brady Cook. Now, do I think he has a little bit more zip on his passes? Yeah, I do. I think he throws a prettier ball. Now, that said, his balls seem to go to the other team, which is a massive issue. But, I mean, there were things to like about Drew Pine when he transferred here. I never said he was better than Brady Cook, but there was certainly a point in the season where a lot of us, including myself, were saying, hey, Brady Cook isn't getting it done. QB1 isn't getting it done. So let's see something else. We saw something else. We saw Drew Pine. He sucked. Cool. You tried it out. But you can't fault for Mizzou fans for just simply wanting to see someone else to potentially provide a spark or light a fire under Brady Cook. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that, with the way that Brady Cook was playing. So I don't understand people that want to dunk on everyone else for saying, oh, I hope the Drew Pine truthers got their wish, like, hope you're happy. It was never about that. No one's doing backflips for Drew Pine. Just because Drew Pine sucks doesn't mean Brady Cook is good. Drew Pine sucking isn't this ringing endorsement of Brady Cook. So Brady Cook is better than Drew Pine. Yeah, I mean, you won't find me arguing otherwise. But Brady Cook was a massive problem this year. And even though Drew Pine came in and absolutely stunk it up and turned the ball over several times, they were never winning this game even with Brady Cook in there. The offense still scored 0 points against Alabama with Brady Cook in the game, guys. People are going to blame the injury, but Brady Cook looked like he had all year, in my opinion. I mean, here are some of the numbers, guys. Brady Cook this year has the second worst passer rating in the SEC. Out of all SEC quarterbacks, he has the second worst passer rating on throws of 20 yards or more. Brady Cook has a bottom third of the SEC QBR this year. Mizzou is 98th in explosive plays on offense this year. To me, that's a direct reflection of the quarterback. And people are going to bring up offensive coordinator Kirby Moore, and I don't think he's done a fantastic job this year. And there's a lot of play calls I disagree with, particularly the QB draw that never seems to work, yet he keeps calling it. And it also puts your quarterback at risk, Brady Cook, who has shown to be injury prone in his career at Mizzou, and that's just the reality. It sucks that he got hurt again today, and if he's out for the season, I mean, that's a tough way to go out, because you know that he wanted to achieve a whole lot more this year. But Kirby Moore, yeah, I wish there was a little bit more motion in the offense this year like there was last year. But last year they had Cody Schrader, and I think that was a huge reason that the offense was successful. The running game hasn't been as good this year, and so you're asking your quarterback to carry a little bit more of the load on offense, and I just don't think Brady Cook is capable of that. And there's been plenty of times this year where there's been a guy streaking down the sideline, or look back at Texas A&M when you had Brett Norfleet wide open. I think it was a trick play even, and Brett Norfleet's wide open down the sideline, and Brady Cook throws it in the dirt. I mean, these are just throws you have to make as a starting quarterback in the SEC. I also want to take a break from the Brady Cook conversation for just a second to talk about the running game. Of course, you didn't have Nate Noel in this game, and that hurts because he provides an explosive runner, a home run threat, and he was your leading running back this year. So that is a huge part of it. However, a lot of people have called for this team to lean on the run this year, to run the ball at will, and they've been good at it at times, but I never understood the people pounding the table to run the ball constantly because, I mean, today they ran the ball plenty, but situationally they sucked at it. And situationally, when running the ball this year, they haven't really been that good. Yeah, their yards per carry look good. Yeah, the rushing totals have looked good at times. But if you watch the games, when it comes down to it in obvious run situations, this team is getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage. So I'm still a little bit confused about what people are seeing with the running game that makes everyone think that we should just run the ball at will, because I don't think they've been quite that good. But back to the Brady Cook conversation. Again, nobody's questioning his toughness or his love for the program, and I appreciate him for that. But the truth is, 2 out of the 3 years that he's been the starting quarterback for the Missouri Tigers, the offense has sucked. And last year was awesome. But I think it's fair to say that he was elevated by the talent around him. And in the 2 biggest games of the year, in the regular season, he choked at the end. And his tenure is going to be an interesting one to discuss, because I even saw a tweet today on Twitter, someone saying that Brady Cook belongs on Mizzou's Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks. I'm sorry, no. I mean, he's been mediocre. I mean, he was solid for you last year, but again, 2 out of the 3 years that he's been the starting quarterback for the Missouri Tigers, he's been very, very pedestrian. And that's putting it generously. He's just not getting the ball in his playmakers' hands, and it feels like everyone can see it except for half the Mizzou fan base. I don't understand it. This conversation has become exhausting. I think Brady Cook is what he is. He's shown what his ceiling is. He's extremely limited. When you ask him to go out there and make a play with his arm or to bail you out in a tight situation, he typically doesn't do it. Yeah, cool. You barely beat Auburn. He came back in the 4th quarter and we stormed back, and that was a cool moment, but it doesn't negate the fact that he's been bad this year. I mean, even in that Auburn game, people forget that there were 2 drives in between the first scoring drive when Brady Cook came back, the big play to Mookie Cooper, and the game-winning drive. There were 2 drives in which Mizzou's offense either went 3 and out or had to punt the ball away. And there was a scenario in which Mizzou was punting from its own end zone, and they give the ball back to Auburn. And if Auburn had a halfway decent offense, Mizzou doesn't even have a chance for that game-winning drive, because Brady Cook came back and was bad on 2 of those drives. And also, even on the game-winning drive, he sailed multiple passes over the heads of Theo Weiss and Brady Cook. So yeah, I am nitpicking that because it proves my point about Brady Cook. And again, this conversation has just become so exhausting. Brady Cook is an okay but not great quarterback. And I don't know why that has become such a controversial thing to say. So I'm going to end my spiel about Brady Cook there. If that was his last game in a Missouri Tigers uniform and the last game of his 2024 season, hey, look, salute. He did some good things here. But I think it's time that Drinkwitz finds another guy at quarterback. I mean, he has been attached to Brady Cook from the very beginning. We're about to talk about Drinkwitz right here, but I think that if there's one positive thing to come out of a potential Brady Cook injury is that Drink discovers if he has anything on this current roster at quarterback. And if not, you go fishing in the portal. And I think that's most likely what's going to happen, but Drink is going to have to find ways to win outside of Brady Cook. He's going to have to find an answer at quarterback outside of Brady Cook. And that's been the biggest criticism that people have had of Drinkwitz since he's been the head coach at Mizzou is you haven't recruited a quarterback worth a damn in the 5 years that you've been here. And we're still clinging on to Brady Cook, who was a Barry Odom recruit, 5-6 years ago. You go back to 2022 when Brady Cook was named the starter prior to that season. He was bad that year, and everyone was asking about the backup. Surely there's someone better than Brady Cook. And it feels like we're doing that again this year, but not only that, we're asking, why do we not have a backup that can actually play football? Like, how did this staff think that Drew Pine was worth a Division I scholarship? It makes zero sense how in year 5 you don't have a quarterback on this roster worth a damn. We saw Harold Blood come into this game, who transferred here as a walk-on over the offseason, get playing time in this game. I mean, for the love of God, at least put Aiden Glover, your 4-star freshman, out there and see what he can do. I mean, because here's the thing. If you put your 4-star freshman out there and live and die by his talent and whatever upside he has, like, I don't think anyone's going to fault Drinkwitz for that if Brady Cook is out for the rest of the year. But if you keep putting Drew Pine out there, yeah, people are going to be pissed because he's unplayable and he also has zero upside. You can take the lumps of a true freshman playing, but no one's giving any grace to Drew Pine. He's been in college too long to look this bad, this incompetent. And Drinkwitz has got to get this figured out. And I saw a clip floating around on social media, and I'm not totally sure if this is true, but someone was reading the lips of Eli Drinkwitz on the broadcast, and he was talking to Alabama players during a dead ball period and said, this game would be different if we had our quarterback. And that's embarrassing if you're Eli Drinkwitz, because guess what? Not only do you not have your quarterback, but you also did have your quarterback and scored 0 points with them. And there was a quote that Eli Drinkwitz had before the game saying, we're going to cut it loose today. You want to know how many points Mizzou scored after Eli Drinkwitz said they were going to cut it loose? 0. A big fat 0, Eli. That's what happened. So this, and I don't understand why that conversation took place, if it did, with the Alabama players saying this would be different if we had our quarterback, because not only was it not different, but Brady Cook is not good enough to be talking like that. Drink is letting his love and his admiration for Brady Cook's toughness blind him from the fact that, hey, look, he sucked this year, Eli. So I don't understand why you're talking as if you would have a chance even if he was in the game. And I think this year has been a huge wake-up call for Eli Drinkwitz. And this team as a whole, honestly, I mean, I think they drank a lot of their own Kool-Aid, whether they said it publicly or not. They most certainly did. And they've come out looking unprepared in damn near every single game this year besides the first 2 cupcake games in weeks 1 and 2 against Buffalo and Murray State. And a lot of people are starting to question Drinkwitz. Look, there's not going to be any situation this year where he gets fired, especially if Brady Cook's out for the year. I mean, if Brady Cook is out for the year, I mean, it is what it is. Like, he's not getting fired. Last year, he bought himself some time. Now, this year's still going to be a disappointment no matter what, because people were expecting college football playoff. Now, if Mizzou still finds a way to win 8-9 games, like, I'm not turning my nose up at that. That's still a good season. Even though you didn't reach your goal, I would still take that. We'll see what happens. A lot of this just depends on, of course, the health of Brady Cook. Because without him, I mean, I don't know if Mizzou scores a point for the rest of the season, to be frank. But after this one, I mean, you're going to have to go back to the drawing board and really figure things out. Because this team hasn't felt right all year. But if your starting quarterback is missing the rest of the season, then you're going to have to get really creative. I mean, Luther Burden at the Wildcat. Now, we'll talk about Luther Burden here, too, because a lot of people are afraid, hey, he might opt out. Nothing to play for the rest of the season. His quarterback is gone. His stats were already down this year to begin with. And I do think that is something that you have to worry about is draft picks, potential draft picks on this team, maybe shutting it down until the NFL draft. And look, I don't blame Luther Burden for being upset. I mean, we see this all the time in the NFL with star receivers. When they're not getting the ball, when their stats are down and the team is losing, I mean, yeah, they get upset. Luther Burden has every right to be upset. The quarterback play has been subpar this year. His stats are down. His stock is going down. He was the consensus number one receiver coming into this year, it seemed like. And now I've seen him go early, mid-20s in mock drafts, which is not where a lot of people had him pegged to start the year. I'd be frustrated too. We'll be on Luther Burden watch here for the next few weeks to see what happens. That definitely is something that people need to be concerned about. But back to what I was saying before. Drinkwitz, you need to get creative because you don't have Brady Cook anymore. Can't be cocky about him anymore and tell the fan base that they were wrong about him. You don't have that anymore. You're going to have to find ways to win outside of that. And you're going to have to do some deep digging, some soul searching. You can't come out and say we're going to cut it loose and then proceed to score 0 points. It just makes you look like a fool. And that has been a part of Drinkwitz's personality that a lot of people have been turned off by, especially when the team is losing. But another thing that I've started to see people point out is Drink's record on the road, his track record on the road. And while it's not great, I think that's overcomplicating it a little bit. I don't think it's necessarily a playing on the road issue. I really just think it's the team sucks this year, or the team's not very good. Because last year Mizzou didn't really have that much of a problem on the road because they had a good team. Okay, I think it's really as simple as that. Not saying that it's not tougher to play on the road, but I think the conversation about Drinkwitz not being able to get prepared or get his team prepared to play a road game that's overblown. It really just is, do you have a good team or not? And this year, doesn't really seem like they have a very good team. That's why they suck on the road, because they've also sucked at home too. What I will 100% blame Drink for, though, is this quarterback situation and not recruiting a quarterback worth a damn in year 5. And people will talk about Sam Horn and how his injury kind of threw a wrench into things, and that is true. But what has Sam Horn really shown to make anyone believe that he makes the situation any better? He might be better than Drew Pine, but that's a pretty low bar to clear. You have to have a quarterback better than Drew Pine on your roster. It's inexcusable not to. That is coaching malpractice. And a lot of the failures this year have been at the hands of the coaches. You can talk about Kirby Moore. You can talk about Eli Drinkwitz. They really botched the Texas A&M game, only being prepared for Marcel Reed and not Connor Wigman. Drinkwitz scoffed at the idea of Connor Wigman starting when preparing for Texas A&M during his opening press conference for that game week. And it bit him in the ass. I mean, that's a bad look on the coach. Drinkwitz objectively has not done a great job this year. I've given him a ton of credit as a culture builder, as a program CEO. I love Drink. I've been a believer in him since day one. That's why I was so happy to see him succeed last year. And I still think he's a good coach. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but we're seeing him get another slice of humble pie again this year. And he has to grow up from that. He has to grow past these kinds of performances. I mean, Mizzou has like a negative 50-point differential against ranked teams that they played this year. That's awful. You're not getting into the playoff. I think that's actually a good place to end it. I mean, you're not getting into the playoff this year. The season, if you look at it from that aspect, is over. And what this team set out to do this year, they're not going to be able to do. And it's, week 8 of the season? That sucks. But there's still important games left on the schedule. The Oklahoma game is important to me as a fan. The Arkansas game is important to me as a fan. You win those 2, you win 8 games, that's still a good season. You fell short of expectations, but I'd still consider that a good season. That's not even mentioning Mississippi State, which should be an automatic win, even with how bad Mizzou has looked. I mean, that should be a win. Although, well, I don't know. Depends if they had Drew Pine play or not. Maybe I'll be proven wrong on that. I don't want to speak too soon, actually. I'll pull that one back for now. But, yeah, guys, you get blown out by Bama. It sucks. Nothing's going right now. This season has epitomized why Mizzou fans have always said that you can't have anything nice. Because just when you start to get excited, just when you start to believe, in comes the reality check gut punch. That's kind of what this season has been. So, those are my thoughts on Mizzou's 34-0 loss in Tuscaloosa against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Would like to hear from you guys in the comments what you thought of this game. If you agree, disagree with me on anything, would love to hear from y'all. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Mizzou fans can find this, and we'll see you all in the next one. MIZ.